Hello and welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, my name is Ariel with Blessed with Motherhood, and I'm so excited to share this video. I wasn't quite sure if I would get it posted or out or finished before baby came, because this is week 40, so any moment now she can make her appearance, but luckily I'm able to get this in right before she comes. So today I'm going to be talking about what we are going to do for next year. And so since we homeschool year round, next year for us really is just July. We're going to take off June partially and do more like a laid back summer rhythm and get to some fun stuff we wanted to get to. But we don't really ever take long breaks. I would like to say that I'll probably go into kindergarten a little bit, but make a longer video specifically about what we're doing for kindergarten this time. Since it's my second time around, I am doing a lot of stuff differently, and I'm on the fence about a few things. So that is going to be coming soon, so stay tuned with that. So first subject is the Bible, and I'm going to read my notes here so that I get everything right. But we're going through Joshua, Old Testament for term 1, Judges, and Ruth for the Old Testament in terms 2 and 3. And then we're going to be doing Matthew, I believe, continuing Matthew, the rest of the 3 terms actually, for Ambleside Online's rotation. They switch off Old Testament and New Testament so that you're doing both each week. And so I have my Bible that I'll read directly from. I think always that's the most important, because then just nothing's being summarized or you're not getting the gist of things. You're getting the absolute Word of God. So then my kiddos each have an adventure Bible that they'll follow along with. It's more for my oldest because she can read, but my second will be learning how to read probably this year. So it'll be good for her to kind of just get in the habit of following along in her Bible. And since I am doing pre-reading, here's my pre-reading notes. With the Bible, I mark in my pre-reading notebook like timeline entries and maps that I might want to pull out, just stuff that makes it easier for me to go through things and make it so that it's a little bit more visual, so that my children can kind of understand where everything is a little bit more, because I know it gets really confusing. So I have these great Bible Atlas maps, and so they're going to look like this. If I find that it's talking about a specific place, like Joshua opens up about Jordan River, and so I'm going to be showing maps about that. If it's not in here, then I'll pull up some maps. I just found so many great maps on Ambleside Online's Facebook group too, so I'll be reorganizing my mother teacher binder. I probably won't be showing it this time just because it still has like everything from what we just finished, and I should make a year-end review with all that stuff, but there's only so much you can do when you're 40 weeks pregnant. But I will have just mainly the Bible focus, and that goes into our morning time. There are a few devotionals that I need to pull from the basement, and I say me, I mean my husband's gonna go in our dungeon and find all the devotionals I've packed away. But we've got the Wisdom of God, which should be on our bookshelf, so I might not have to dig that one up. Leading little ones to God. I did that a few years ago when my oldest was in kindergarten, and I think that is a great one to do each time I have a kindergartner. It's good for the older kids because they'll kind of remember too, but it's such a sweet devotional, and it's not something that I'm looking to do every single day. The Bible, reading directly from it and getting our rotation in from Ambleside is the main focus in our morning time. But if we have time, devotionals like those. And then my church, my husband and I have been reading through the Big Truth Bible storybook, and I thought that was really delightful for the 3-year-olds we've been getting to serve. So I found that on Thrift Books, and I'm going to probably utilize that maybe once a week as well, especially to cater to my 2-year-old so she can kind of get a little bit more involved. And then I have just like other things that I can pull from. I might just put them in the morning basket, and if we have time, maybe once a week, I'll get to these. But I have a bunch of these like heroes of history, like Christian missionary like biographies. These are really cool to get to learn, especially since we're doing Trial and Triumph, which is very similar. Maybe adding one of these. There's also like a picture book version. There's also like these stories that I might have my oldest start reading, depending on, I'll see how, like, if they match her level. They kind of look like they do, but I'm not entirely sure how intense they get. So, but there's the Trailblazer books, and I had thrifted a whole bunch of these, and they look really good. And they're put out by Bethany House, which is one of my favorite publishers. So I feel like they're very trustworthy. I also found these at the library and printed out discussion questions. This is a really cool series by the Good Book Company. It's why does God let bad things happen? What happens when I die? How can I be sure what's right and what's wrong? And there's a whole bunch more. But I thought these are really good, especially for my oldest who's starting to ask these kind of questions. And I it's okay if you don't always have answers, but I would like to have answers that are a little bit more articulate. I feel like we can learn about this stuff together. And I like the free discussion questions on their website too, just kind of like a deep dive into those hard questions that you trust as a Christian, but that kids are going to ask. Up next is history. Now, what's nice about Ambleside Online, I know a lot of people do not like their history rotation, but what is nice is you go through the same books for several years. You know, you don't need to keep buying history books over and over again. So we are still going through An Island Story, This Country of Ours. We're going to dive into a little bit more. I think last year, or what we just finished, it looks like we only used it like 3 or 4 times. So this time it's going to be used a lot more. There's also Children's History of the World, which is missing in action right now, and I need to pull that out. Kind of familiar with those books and that style, and I know how long it's going to take me to get through the chapters, and when I pre-read them, I kind of know what to look for, like discussion questions. Also going to be getting into biographies a little bit more. With year 2, we did do like Diane Stanley's ones, and it recommends more of those, which are really lengthy picture books. So they have a good picture, they have a good story, and it's pretty good. I had fun reading Joan of Arc with my children last time in year 2. So we're also going to be doing Michelangelo, another Diane Stanley, and of course another Diane Stanley, The Good Queen Bess. Really excited about this one because I love learning about kings and queens. So that is going to be what we're doing with history. We're going to be adding to our timeline things that stand out to us or are important, things we're studying. I also looked into some Genevieve Foster books. Now, I feel like these are assigned sometime down the road in Ambleside Online, and that's how I found out about them. These are really lengthy, and I wouldn't call them a picture book because basically this is what you get for pictures. You might get like a little bit more, but it's mostly just like a big chapter book, but they look really cool. I don't know if I'm going to be using any Genevieve Foster this year. I'll have to double check that they're not scheduled. I feel like I keep looking ahead and getting excited and checking things out and then thinking that that is part of this new year's curriculum. So Genevieve Foster, I'm going to look into it. If we have time, I would love to get to like all of her books because George Washington's World looks really cool. So on top of history, we're going to be doing geography and map working. Now, geography has us using the same books once again, these 2, elementary geography and home geography. And so we've been using these the last 2 years. This will be our 3rd year using them. And it's very simple. You just focus on learning like one thing each term. And then they also have scheduled Marco Polo. So I found this really cool book. And there's so many books on Marco Polo to choose from that I only ended up choosing 2 that I could like find at a good deal. So I got these. I might check my library for the other ones and see, but I really thought those were the best. I'm also going to be adding something really exciting that has nothing to do with Ambleside Online, but I saw these. These are for map work, and would go perfect in geography. And so I have Draw the USA as well as Draw the Natural Wonders of the USA. I'm really excited to do these because they start off where your children actually. I mean, I'm going to do it alongside my children because it looks like a lot of fun. But you start very simply and you're going to end up drawing a map of America, and it just progresses to the point where you're going to end up having a full map. And you can do like, I don't know, I have to look through them and really think how much I want to do this each week. It's probably going to be like once a week thing, but these were just like a delight to add to map working. So for natural history, there's going to be a more science feeling book called A Drop of Water. This is really cool, and I feel like we're starting to get into more like scientific things with studying nature, which I'm really excited about because I always loved science as a kid. And then for nature study, Pagu, I think that's how you pronounce it. Might be Pago, I don't know. But we have been reading the Holland's books for the past 3 years, a different one each year. And some of them are hits, some of them are misses. But it's always fun because the chapters are extremely short. You know, you would just read this page, then there's this illustration. You know, maybe you might do 1 or 2 each week depending on what's scheduled for Ambleside Online. And then there's also the Secrets of the Woods that we're going to be getting into. I'm a little sad that we're not doing a Burgess book this year, but we really loved that. And I think this one is going to be very similar. And for nature study, there is a focus on one specific thing each term. So term 1 is reptiles, term 2 is brooks, rivers, and oceans, and term 3 is garden flowers and weeds. I'm also going to be adding in like local nature study, things we can go and see, like the same tree and see it through the seasons and observe it. Our ponds near us, things like that, just so that it kind of aligns up more to our own habitat and what we are seeing around us. So I have so many picture books that I'll add in. I love nature picture books, so just adding those in. Nature journaling, you know, maybe just like going outside and nature journaling once a week, and then being inside and like looking at books and a specific topic, nature journaling another. So I'm trying to get to that twice weekly, hopefully. I'm going to add in the Nat Theo podcast. I read her book. That was a great devotional about tying creation with God and like all of nature. And it was such a good devotional. It was a really encouraging devotional, and I really like her nature podcast. That's how I found it, as I'm going to be going through that with my children, maybe during breakfast once a week. We'll see, but I'm definitely going to add that in, as well as just a bunch of picture books. So for literature and tales, we're going to start with Shakespeare, and we're still going to go through about 2, maybe sometimes 1, but 2 at least per term. And then I have Shakespeare puppets that I need to print out for me, print out for the girls, and I'm gonna add those in. Those just make it so much more fun. I also found on Ambleside Online Facebook group some really cool character maps. Oh, here they are. I have everything in one spot, but not quite everything put into the mother teacher binder or the student binders yet, but I found these really cute character maps for Shakespeare, and I'll have to double check. I'm not sure they have everything, but they might have at least something that we're doing, which will be fun. I can print out a second one for my kiddos to color, but then it's just a really good way to keep characters straight, because especially when you're going through stuff the first time, Shakespeare, you can kind of get lost in how many characters there are. Another book we're going to go through is American Tall Tales. I love these, like Paul Bunyan, Johnny Appleseed, like great American history. And it's nice because for my kindergartner, I do want her to start with American history. That's what I did the first time around. We did the Little House books. So we're either going to do Little House series again or Little Britches maybe, to give us a little more space, because we kind of read the Little House books still very regularly. But having the American Tall Tales book and going through that is definitely going to be great for my year 3, because it's part of her schedule, but also for my kindergartner. Also, The Heroes and The Landing of Pilgrims. I think I'm going to get Anne White's companion book that goes along with this, because I always see it highly recommended, and anything that will help me with pre-reading and adding to my notes is just going to be a blessing. One classic novel scheduled per term. The first term is The Princess and the Goblin. The second term is Children of the New Forest, which I should have. Yes, The Princess and the Goblin is the first one, and that's somewhere on the bookshelf. And then I have Children of the New Forest for term 2, and then The Jungle Book term 3. So I'm always excited to get to these new classics, because most of the time they're very well loved in our house. I think the only time we thought it was really weird was Pinocchio. Pinocchio is definitely a weird one when you're used to the Disney version, because the Disney version kind of made it a lot less creepy. So I think the Jungle Book, I have read part of that, and I think it was pretty good. And for poetry, I really like getting Ambleside Online's book for the poetries, because then it's just everything is in here in one book, and they give great biographies, so that's like one less thing that I need to do, and all the poems you need are in here. And then, you know, since I have at least 3 other students that are going to be going through this rotation, it's an investment that I'm willing to make, even though it's not that expensive. But so for poetry, we have those. And then I have a ton of poetry books. I will try to do poetry tea time weekly. That is our favorite, like one of our favorite subjects. I am less motivated to do it when we haven't baked a snack, but that's kind of part of our homeschool lessons too, is baking, teaching the girls how to bake. And even my youngest, you know, she is learning how to crack eggs instead of just squeeze them open, and she's 2. So that's just a really good time. It's hard to bake with all 3 of them, I have to say. Like 2 was already kind of hard. So I have to figure out like a good rotation where I bake with 1 at a time or 2 at most, maybe like oldest, youngest, and then bake with my middle, because they'll often think they know what they're doing, which sometimes they do, but sometimes they'll just go ahead and start looking at the instructions or the recipe and just doing it, and I won't know what has been done or how much has been put in. We have spilt a whole bottle of vanilla before in a recipe, and it turned out fine, because the more vanilla the better, I guess, but it's still just it's just a little bit chaotic. So I want to, as like, you know, for my toddler, I want to teach her the basics like I taught my older 2, but that is something that's more like afternoon occupations. And so if I can just get back into a regular rhythm, and I'll have a newborn on me too, probably baby wearing her all the time when we're baking. So I have to make sure that I have like a backup solution, something very quick and maybe in the freezer, so that I'm never putting off poetry tea time just because we don't have something made. I mean, honestly, like we could pop popcorn, and that is just amazing and a special treat too. So I do have a ton of poetry books. I even have poetry books that align with who we're studying for poets. So like William Blake's in. I was really excited to see we're doing him because I have his stuff, and I'm going to check out some from the library. I'm going to make a big list in my planner of all the picture books on the artists, composers, and poets. That way, when it comes time to study them, I can just easily put everything on hold. But I also have a ton, and that's going to be added into poetry tea time. I think I'm also going to do poetry in the morning time daily as well. And then poetry tea time would be more like a focus on the picture books, and then maybe reading more of these poets' selections that weren't on the rotation. So it might be like less of a official homeschool lesson time thing and more like afternoon occupations. It's always fun to do it right after lunch too. Along with morning time, I've found all of these in the Ambleside Online Facebook group, and you just check the file section and just look for what you need, see if anything looks good. But we have recitation, which switches off. We're going to switch off the 3 Bible verses and then the 2 poems every other day, but that's a daily thing. And that's more just about learning how to recite something the best you can out loud and just kind of practice out loud speaking rather than memorizing. I think sometimes my oldest has memorized it, but it's never required. I just like how she always struggles with some rhythm, maybe a word in the very beginning, but by the end of the term, she is reciting it like a Shakespearean. So it's always very exciting to do recitation. And then for language arts, I have everything ready, kind of, but not everything is done. So I have to bind all of these. But this is the Ambleside Online copywork. It's going to be a mix of cursive and print, and there's going to be enough to do daily. I have all of that to bind, and then we'll include in our either morning time or right after morning time. And that is just about, she reads to me the passage, and it's always like passages pertaining to what we're learning. So she reads to me like from The Princess and the Goblin, a passage, and then she'll give me her best penmanship. And it's not about going fast, but she's also got kind of a time limit. I noticed that if I let her take as long as she wanted, she might take like a half an hour. So, and daydream, that was the problem. So I do say you have 10 minutes because that's the allotted time. And whatever she doesn't finish will be pushed towards like later after our homeschool lessons end. But she's supposed to give me her best penmanship, and we're also going to be introducing cursive this year. So cursive, I'm going to be a little bit more lenient as she practices. But when I was looking for cursive curriculum, I found these, which I'm going to be doing for language arts. So these are not scheduled for Ambleside Online. This is the student activity book. I also have the teacher one, and they're really cool. They teach cursive, but they also teach like a ton of other things. They'll teach spelling and just a little bit of grammar, light grammar. So it says spelling, vocabulary, grammar, reading, penmanship, creative writing, and high-ordered thinking skills. And while they don't completely align with Charlotte Mason, because technically it is a workbook, I felt like as far as workbooks go and having like a little bit more formal lessons with this particular thing, I felt this did kind of align with Charlotte Mason. I mean, it has us reading from living books, like one was Matilda. Is it Matilda? No, one was Madeline. I keep doing that. One was Madeline, then also Meet George Washington, a landmark book, The Wild Stallion, and The Little White Horse. Really great classics. I want to do a little bit more formal spelling than just the copywork. The copywork is great for spelling. It's what Charlotte Mason recommends. It's all you really need in a sense, but I can see my daughter wanting to know how to spell things out more. And as she writes like a ton of notes to me and my husband and her sisters, and she just loves writing, she is struggling a little bit with spelling. So I thought something a little bit more formal, with like a workbook kind of style, but still very Charlotte Mason friendly. And I thought learning language arts through literature, and this is the yellow book. We haven't done the other ones before this. Really, I didn't see any need to. I just found out about these, but I probably will only start in the yellow book because I like that it teaches cursive as well as printing, and it's a gentle introduction to cursive, and it just has so many really, really amazing things. I might share a flip through of that soon so that you can see it too, because that's exactly how I decided for it, is seeing a flip through. So I'll go into the morning time a little bit more, but basically we have stuff we do daily, and then we have some beauty subjects that we rotate each day. So it'll happen once a week. And foreign language is one of those things. It's kind of funny. My husband is fluent in Japanese, and I speak it maybe conversationally, but it seems like I'm losing my skills as the time goes. But I think it gets put on the back burner for us so much. Each year, starting at age 6, if your child is like a dual citizen, like a Japanese citizen, the Japanese government will send like what textbooks they use in the Japanese schools. So we have a whole bunch of these, and I always have good intentions to go through it with my oldest, and she is really wanting to learn to speak Japanese fluently. She knows some words here or there, but it just keeps getting put on the back burner. So I have to be way more intentional this year. And it's something that I think should be so easy, but I also want to find a good curriculum. It's hard. It's hard. I keep searching for a good Japanese curriculum, but I found some good curriculums for German and French, which is something that I would love for them to also learn. But it's something that I need to find a good balance for and get in a good habit, and then maybe a little, German and French they can learn as well as Japanese. And I want my husband maybe to help me stay motivated to teach them, and even like maybe on the weekends they could have like an extra lesson with him, which would be way better than a lesson with me. For math, we're still finishing up Beast Academy Level 1C, and then shortly we'll be going into 1D. I was planning to order Level 2. I like them a lot, but they are quite challenging. So I'm still kind of on the fence of, do I want to try something else to see if another curriculum would be a little bit more beneficial? But I do like the challenge part of it. And my daughter really likes the comic book kind of style instructions. So it is a lot. It is also going well. So I don't know. It's one of those things where I'm just going to wait until we finish 1D, and by towards like the middle of it, I'll decide if I'm going to order the second level or if I'm going to try something else. I think for my kindergartner, I'm going to talk more about her plans. But I was thinking math with confidence. We did the first time around when we did kindergarten, we did the good and the beautiful, and I liked that, but then we stopped in the middle of year 1 with level 1, the good and the beautiful math, because I just didn't feel it was doing well for my daughter. I don't feel like she was getting the stuff, even though it was like review after review. I think so much review was making her bored that she was very eager to just move on and use those skills, but not constantly have reviews. And so it was very heavy on reviews. and I think that's why we stopped. And then we started Beast Academy, which I really like. But I'm gonna think about Math with Confidence. But one that I really enjoy is the Simply Charlotte Mason Elementary Arithmetic series. And so we're gonna be starting book 2. I would start book 1 with my kindergartner. We went a little bit easy on it. I just wanted to try out book 1 with my oldest, and it's mostly about counting. But what I like is how in alignment it is with Charlotte Mason's methods, and how it really has you do lots of mental math. And mental math, I think, is a really great skill to have, and that I find not a lot of math curriculum has you doing mental math. Most of the time with Beast Academy, my daughter's filling up the whole page, showing her work, doing it on the paper. And then I like to just every other day do Beast Academy, which is very hardcore, and then this, which is a lot lighter and has you use manipulatives that are just around the house. Like we usually use like pencils because we have so many pencils, or buttons, and then doing things in her head. So I really like honing those skills together. Artist, I have all the artist studies printed out. I printed them out. I got the high resolution from A Humble Place, and then I used my very nice matte paper and printed it on my Epson, and it takes forever. I feel like to print out one artist 6 paintings, it takes about 20 minutes. So it was one of those things where you do like one each weekend. But I got them all printed out, and we're going to be studying one artist per term. What I'm going to listen to like a YouTube video or something on how to pronounce everybody's names, because I am terrible with pronouncing people's names. I have to hear it multiple times. But I made biographies, like a short blurb biographies, and some like a short blurb about the painting for our artist study, and that's going to happen in our morning time. I have to print those out, but I'm going to add those to the Ambleside Online Facebook files. So look out for that if that's something you're interested, because these paintings are great, but all it says here is the name and the artist and then the date. And I wanted to do a little bit more with my children and have like a little bit more to say about the painting. So I'm going to either paperclip or paste the blurbs that I made on the back, and then when I show the painting, it's all about them looking at it at first, and then I'll go into detail after I ask them questions. I also made like questions that will be in that file as well. I often feel like I'm scrambling when we do artist studies, so I'm going to have specific questions to kind of just prompt more narration from my children. Only my oldest is technically formal lessons, so she's really the only one required to do that, but often my middle jumps right in too. So that's going to be artist. And then I also have the composer's study mixed in with those files as well. It's going to be artist and composers, and then we do 3 composers each term. We're going to listen to the song. That's also going to be part of the morning time. Morning time we have hymn and folk songs, but then we'll do a composer study every week. The hymn and folk songs switch off every other day, but they're done daily. And then, one composer each term, and we'll learn about them. Okay, so with free reads, there are a ton. We did not get through all the free reads last year 2, and we'll probably try to get through some during the summer. It's definitely one of those things where you have to utilize audiobooks and independent reading for some of them if you're going to get through all of them, because they give you a plethora of such great living books for free reads that oftentimes I hear people don't get through all of them, and this was our first year not getting through all of them, and I don't think we'll get through as much as we did in year 1, but I still try to get them all. I had like a lot on my shelf already, but they have like the Water Babies, and this one is a short one, 20 and 10. I think I would schedule this or put this in my oldest or year 3 independent reading basket. King of the Wind, we love this author, and so we'll probably read this together because I want to read it. Caddy Woodlawn, 21 Balloons, Lloyd Alexander. Anytime his books are recommended, I know they're going to be amazing. He writes such amazing stuff. But we'll do a mix of some on her level will be independent reads, some audiobooks, and some I'll read directly from the book. And I will also have her do independent reads. I have a bunch of series of like independent readers that kind of gradually get harder and go along with grade level. Now, she doesn't necessarily have to be reading on grade level, but I really like just having these books. Like my book house, there's one book for like each kind of age. She can always move up or down depending on how difficult or easy it is for her. But the pathway readers, for grade 3, this is grade 3-1, this is grade 3-2. And so that's going to match up with her level and with year 3. But she'll read these out loud to me. Same with like the Fairchild Family series. She'll read these out loud to me. And I think that's a really good skill to have, to read in your head and do independent reading, as well as read and articulate the books. So that happens each day for about 10 to 15 minutes, depending on our timetable that day. And so I think that's a good way to help me see where she's at reading wise, because you can always read a little bit more faster in your head, but to be able to see where she is with reading out loud to me is really good. And that's like something she always really enjoys. So that's nice that she enjoys that. As a kid, I would have hated that the most. So definitely raising the opposite of me. For handicrafts, I'm going to focus on 1 or 2 per this year. So I think the first 2 terms I was going to do crochet, because I've already started teaching myself that when I first had kids. And so that's something that my daughter has expressed interest in. I don't know if I'm going to be teaching both of my older 2. Maybe. But I do have all this stuff. And then the 3rd term, I think we're going to be doing carving soapstone and wood carving, I guess. Yeah, so we're going to do that because that looked like fun, and that's something she's expressed interest in. But I might do something in term 2 as well as crochet, but for now I think I'm going to just focus on those 2 handicrafts. So we could always add more in later. We could add in sewing more. I think I'm going to do sewing for my kindergartner too. And then drawing, we have a ton of drawing books, a ton of these kind of style drawing books, and we'll probably do some videos on YouTube. I try to keep technology very minimal, but we'll do drawing with that for brush strokes, brush drawings, watercolor. We're still going to continue with Lily and Thistle. I have a lifetime membership to those courses, and I really like them. I just want to kind of get in a better habit of doing it more instead of once a week, twice a week. That would be my goal. While I do try to keep our technology very minimal, I think I'm going to introduce typing this year, once a week, 10 minutes, me right there. And we're going to be using typing.com. I just am going to use the free version. It doesn't look like there's really ads that are going to pop up or bother her, so that's good. But I'm still going to be right there because she's going to be using my laptop. So we'll slowly start introducing typing. So cursive and typing will be kind of 2 new skills for her. The thing I did in the middle of last year that I really am glad I did is scheduling in breaks, like play breaks mostly. So in the middle of our homeschool lessons is a good chunk, like a half an hour play break. But then it's also a time we can do Swedish drill. And we kind of got into it term 2, got out of it term 3 as the weather got nicer we decided I thought it was better that my kiddos just went outside in the backyard and played. And I like that. I might try to do Swedish drill a little more regularly, especially when the weather is cold. That's a great way to do physical activity when you are struggling to get outside even 1 hour and how cold it gets. So I'll probably continue with that. I like the play breaks. It's really good for everybody. And then having that physical activity Swedish drill was kind of fun to do, but I just have to be more consistent with that. So I think that is everything. I'm looking at the table and I'm just surrounded by curriculum, but I think that is everything that we are going to be doing for year 3. I feel like I could always take stuff and put it in or take stuff out as the year goes on. So we'll see, especially as I'm going through, because I'm very slow going with my pre-reading plan, but as I pre-read stuff too, I'll have a better idea of how much can realistically be done each day. So we'll see about that. But I'll link some stuff, and I'll tell you where you can find like all the great files on Ambleside Online Facebook. And the forum also has a ton of files too. So just kind of search those. Type in what you're looking for in the search bar and you can usually find it. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope this was helpful. I hope this was helpful for your planning. I hope this was fun if you've done year 3 before and you're like, oh, we did all those. That's very nostalgic. But thank you so much for being here, for subscribing, for commenting, for liking. All of those is just such a great way to show that these videos are useful. So thank you. And I'll see what other videos I can get made, but there might be a long pause when baby arrives. I don't know. Depends on if she is gonna be a baby that is very content with baby wearing, because then I could just baby wear her with all the videos. But until next time,